my friends, it's Lisa, and today I'm going to be going over my TBR for the Magical Readathon Aurelium Spring Equinox Edition. It's quite a long title of a readathon. I feel like I never know quite how to say that. But the Spring Equinox Readathon is happening, which is a month-long readathon where you basically just choose a career, and throughout the month you'll be reading books to complete your classes that help you get to that career path. So that is what I'm going to be going over, my TBR for that readathon, and because I'm me, I'm sure my readathon TBR will change like multiple times throughout the month, but I will be doing weekly vlogs for the readathon as well, so if there are any TBR changes, that'll be the place to see them. But I do think I have a decent plan that I might stick to throughout the month, so I thought I would share that with you all. I haven't done a TBR in a while. I haven't done a readathon TBR in a while because I feel like I just haven't done a lot of readathons recently, so I'm very excited to be back filming one, and let's just get into the TBR. So for this readathon, you choose a career, and that is how you base what prompts you're completing, because there's like a list of classes that you have to take and then there's prompt for each class. So the career that I chose is the Feywild Cartographer, and I'm very excited about it. It sounds kind of fun. There were definitely a lot that I was choosing between. I felt like I was sitting there trying to figure out what career I wanted and what prompts there were and how I wanted to do it, because there were just so many great options, but this is the one I decided to go with. And for this career there are 7 classes, so 7 prompts that I have to complete, so it's a little ambitious, but I definitely have a lot of like graphic novels and things like that on my TBR, so I think I'm going to be able to do it. So the first class that I have to complete is Elemental Studies, and the prompt for that is to read a book under 100 pages. So as you can see, I might be reading 7 books, but that's a very easy prompt to complete within like a couple hours. So the book I chose for this prompt is Princess Ever After by Kay O'Neill. This is the same author as the Tea Dragon Society books, which I read the first one and loved it, and I might be mentioning another one in this TBR in just a moment. But it says on Goodreads that this book is only 53 pages, so definitely completing the prompt there. And I haven't read much of the description because it's so short. I don't want to read too much and then know exactly what happens in this entire story. But I do know it's following a princess who goes and saves another princess who's locked in their tower, and I think they're just like traveling back through the kingdom, and I think there is a relationship that develops between the two, and I'm very excited. It seems very cute and will definitely be a quick read, which I think will be perfect for a readathon. The next class that I have to take is Shape Shifting, and I don't know why that's such a hard word for me to say. Shape Shifting. Shift. I've struggled multiple times. Shape Shifting. There we go. But the prompt for this is to read a book with a creature with claws on the cover, and this might be a bit of a reach, but I think I'm going to read the Tea Dragon Festival, also by Kay O'Neill, a very Kay O'Neill themed readathon for me. So this may be a bit of a reach. There is a creature on the cover with little nails, little claws on their paws, and you know, I wouldn't maybe consider them claws, but like I'm counting it. You know, I'm the queen of making prompts work for what I want to read, so I'm counting it. If you disagree, don't tell me. So on the cover, actually, in the description, it seems like it's a real dragon, so dragons have claws, right? Am I right? Right. But this particular graphic novel is following a dragon that comes to this town to protect the village, but ends up falling asleep for 80 years. So I think they're trying to figure out why this dragon was asleep for that long, and I just know it's going to be so cute. The Tea Dragon Society, which is the first one in this series, I read and absolutely loved. It's so wholesome and so cute, and the art style also is just so stunning. Like, I'm just obsessed with the art style as well, so very excited to read another one in this series. And I do want to get this one physically. I do own the Tea Dragon Society, the first one, physically, but I don't own this one physically yet. I just shouldn't be spending money on books right now. It's just not a thing that should be happening. I've spent too much money on books in the past couple of weeks, so I'm not letting myself buy this, but I think my library has it. I don't know why I said I think. I know my library has it. That's why I put it on this TBR. So I will be reading this for the readathon. Very excited to be back with the Tea Dragons and just be back with this like precious story and the art style and everything. It's going to be a great time. So the next class, the next prompt that I have to complete is for Animal Studies, and that is to have a book that is a quick read. So I once again chose a graphic novel. So yeah, this TBR is definitely not as overwhelming as it could have been with 7 books having to be read, but 3 of the 7 are graphic novels, so definitely a lot easier, definitely making it a lot easier on myself. But for the quick read prompt, I decided to go with A Spark Within the Forge by Sabaa Tahir. This is one of the kind of Ember in the Ashes graphic novels that's sort of a prequel, so it's like everything's taking place before the main events in the main series. But I'm really excited about this one because this is following Laia and her brother, and if you know anything about the series, if you've read the series, you would maybe know that the start of the series, like the very first chapter within the first book, something happens between Laia and her brother that kind of kicks off the entire series. So I'm really excited to get more about Laia and her brother before the kind of actual main events of the series, like getting to see their dynamic as siblings before all of that. I'm just so excited to read more about it. And I just love Ember in the Ashes so much. It's one of, if not my favorite series, so I'm really excited to get more from this world and these characters because I just love it so much. So I will take anything that is put out about this series, and I'm just really excited to get more from the world and the characters and everything, so very excited to pick this up. Okay, that was the final graphic novel, I swear. So the next class I have to take is for astronomy, and the prompt for that is to read a book that's at the top of your TBR. So I decided to be smart with this one and put Clockwork Angel as my option for this. I'm currently doing a Shadowhunters read-along with my friends Casey from Casey Can Read and Darian from Darian Reads, and April we're reading Clockwork Angel. So if you want to join in with us, I'll have the Shadowhunters read-along info linked below. We're reading one a month. We're going in publication order, so if you want to join, I'll have that information below. But this is what we're reading in April, and I'm so excited. So this is the first book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. We're following Tessa, who goes to London to visit her brother, but something ends up kind of going wrong, and she ends up getting swept up into the Shadowhunter world, where she meets Will and Jem, and chaos ensues, romance ensues, drama ensues. How many times can I say ensues? Doesn't even sound like a word anymore, so we're gonna stop doing that. But I'm so excited. I love the Infernal Devices, so I'm really excited to read them. Not so excited about the fact that I think I'm gonna have to defend Jem in our live shows, because I love him and I don't think Casey and Darian do, but it'll be fine. So yeah, I decided to count it for this prompt because this is like the only book that I had on my TBR for April. This was the only book that I knew I had to read. So I figured it worked for this prompt, and I'm so excited to read it. So the next class that I have to take is Alchemy, and the prompt for that is a book featuring romance. So basically every book that I read features a romance. Like, I feel like it's very much a common occurrence in a lot of the books that I read. So I don't have like a definitive option for this because I might just see what I feel like reading throughout the month. I do have a couple of options here, but I might, pick up a romance book on audio and count it for that. I don't know, I'm gonna see what kind of happens throughout the month, but I do have a couple of options that I'm leaning towards. So the first option is Fire by Kristen Cashore. This is the second book in the Graceling Realm series, and I think all of these books feature romance. I think romance is pretty heavily involved in all of these books, so I might pick this one up because I just read Graceling, and I don't know, can you see? I don't know if you can see them, but I have the pile of the entire series behind me, so I kind of just want to continue on with the series, finish off another series. I have started so many series over the past few years, and starting a new one in 2022 when I have so many other ones that I need to finish, I kind of want to make good progress with the ones that I'm starting this year, so I might pick this up if I'm in the mood for it. I do kind of have a lot of fantasy on my TBR for this readathon, so I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood for this, but I figured I would put it as an option because I do want to make progress with the series. And then the other book that I probably will be choosing between, I have a feeling it's going to be between Fire and this one, but like I said, who knows what I'm going to be in the mood for. But the other option that I have is Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. I just read Prince Charming, which is the first book in this kind of series companion duology thing. I read that one in March for the actual The Gear Up edition of the Magical Readathon, so I thought it might be a good idea to once again continue making progress in some series, finishing off this duology. This is also a kind of contemporary romance. It's YA, and it's also not very long. I think it's even shorter than the first one. Yeah, it's 274 pages, so it's not very long at all, so this might be a good option for the readathon as well, because I read the first one really quickly, and it's nice and short, so this might be what I go with, but we'll see. But in this book, we're following a girl, I think, that goes to school in Scotland, and she ends up becoming roommates with Princess Flora, who we see bits and pieces of her in the first book. So I'm excited to see what this is all about. I think it's kind of an enemies to lovers situation. It's sapphic. Casey loves it. So I think it's going to be a good time. Casey was the one who gave this to me, and it's in the note. It says to read it for the readathon. She gave me this like 2 years ago. I think she meant the Taylor Swift readathon that we hosted a couple years ago, and I still haven't read it. So now's the time. I will be reading it for a readathon, just not the one she meant. But yeah, this is my other option, and I feel like this might be a good option because it's contemporary, not a fantasy, and also is very short. So this I feel like might be what I end up picking up, but like I said, I'm doing weekly vlogs for this readathon. So you'll see what I pick up between these two. If it's even these two, I might read something else. Who knows? I probably should read these though because they are for my physical TBR, so that might be the smarter decision. But yeah, these are my two like main options for this prompt, but we will see what ends up happening. Alright, so for the next class, it is Inscription, and the prompt for that is to read an intimidating read. So I'm going to be picking up Pachinko by Minjin Lee. I'm actually doing a buddy read of this with Darian and Casey as well, so I wanted to get this onto my TBR somehow, and I do think it works for this prompt. I think just because of like the size of this book, it is a bit of a thicker novel, as well as like the subject matter. It is a bit intimidating to me, but like I said, I am doing a buddy read with Darian and Casey, so I think that will help me actually get through it and make it a little bit less intimidating. But I definitely don't know too much about this book. I feel like I knew what the synopsis was at one point, added it to my wish list, and now I've kind of forgotten. But I do like to go into books not knowing too much and not reading too much of the description, but I will read kind of the very first paragraph of the description. It says, 4 generations of a poor, proud immigrant family fight to control their destinies, exiled from a homeland they never knew. And that's kind of all I really want to know going into it. I have not heard a single bad thing about this book. I feel like everyone who reads this really loves it, so I'm really excited to read it. It is still a bit intimidating, a bit of a thicker, kind of more dense novel for a readathon, which I think is also why it's kind of intimidating. Hopefully I can get it done before the end of the month. But yeah, excited to buddy read this with my besties and also just finally read this, as I've had this on my physical TBR for a little while. So the final class that I have to take for my career is Demonology, and that is to read a book with the word shadow in the title. So for this, I'm going to read Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, and I'm so excited to read this. This is a book that I have been interested in and intrigued by for a little while. I know Chloe from Books with Chloe kind of put it on my radar. She read it like a year or two ago, and the way that she described it just sounded really interesting. I also listened to an episode of Marissa Meyer's podcast where she had Julie Kagawa on, and she talked about this book, and the way that she was just describing it made it sound really interesting. And then I also know that Emma, who is someone who watches my channel, actually recommended me this book because she said that there were some similarities to A Song of Wraiths of Ruin, which is a duology that I do enjoy. I was a bit disappointed by the sequel, which I think is why Emma recommended this to me. So there's a lot of, recommendations and things that made me interested in this book, so I think I'm finally going to pick it up. Another one where I don't want to read too much of the description, but I will read a little bit of the beginning. It says, 1,000 years ago, the great Kami dragon was summoned to grant a single terrible wish, and the land of Iwagoto, I don't know if I'm saying these names right, but we will double check, was plunged into an age of darkness and chaos. Now, for whoever holds the scroll of 1,000 prayers, a new wish will be granted. A new age is about to dawn. It just sounds really interesting, and the way that I've heard the author and other people describe this novel just sounds really interesting, so definitely really excited to check this out as well. But yeah, that is my TBR for the Spring Equinox edition of the Magical Readathon. Hopefully I can get through all these books. I think I will be able to. I definitely gave myself some easier options with some of the graphic novels that I chose, so I'm really excited to pick up all of these books. I think this is going to be a good month of some good reads, so definitely let me know if you're participating in the readathon as well, what career you chose, any books you're reading. I would love to know anything that you're doing for this readathon. But I think that's going to be it for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!